Good evening, everybody. It's your friendly neighborhood doc back for another video. Today, guys, I wanted to talk to you and ask you, is it time for a reinvention of comics? And what would that mean to you? I'm actually staring at my shelf over here and I saw the Scott McCloud book called Reinventing Comics. And it got me to thinking, what would a reinvention of comics be? We've talked about it before. Should Marvel and DC change formats? Should they change writers and artists more often? We've talked about those things before in previous videos. So, to me, and this is to me, I think that something like cross-gen, which we have also talked about in previous videos, I think that would be a breath of fresh air. Image has its place, and Image is putting out a lot of great stuff. 9 times out of 10, the books I'm picking up these days are Image over DC or Marvel. Possibly Boom, a few Dynamites occasionally. But like I said, the main thing that I want to talk about with you guys, and I want your opinion. I know that I share my opinion on these videos, but I also wanted to hear from you guys. I really do. I need more comments. This is not a one-way street. This is a comics conversation. And in order to have a conversation, you got to have at least 2 people. So, what do you think a comics reinvention would look like? Like I said, I think it would be cross-gen comics. Something along those lines. Original IP. We don't need, no offense, but we don't need another Dynamite or another licensed company like IDW. We don't need a bunch of licensed books from IP, even if it is Transformers, DuckTales, Silverhawks. We don't need any more of that unless it's top-notch stuff. But we need original IP. And everybody knows why nobody goes and creates original IP for Marvel or for DC anymore. Because you do your probably 10-issue run. Marvel now owns it, owns your ideas, can reprint it as many times as they want to, and you can't say anything about it. And so why would I, as a wannabe writer, up-and-coming writer, I should say, or why would somebody else who's in that position want to go give away your greatest ideas to this multi-billion-dollar company that you'll never see royalties on, more than likely? They'll probably try to turn it into a, again, multi-billion-dollar property if it hits with a lot of fans, and you'll see nothing but maybe a thank you at the end of the movie. You won't see any money, no monetary value, and money is not everything. But you know what? You do have to pay your insurance. You do have to cover yourself and your wife and your kids' expenses. You do have to make enough money to be successful and to consider yourself comfortable in life. So no, money is not the end-all be-all. But who wants to create something that a company goes on to earn billions upon billions of dollars via reprints, 17 little miniseries, things like that, and instead, you get nothing. So, cross-gen, although flawed, and we've talked about that as well, was an original idea with original IP and an original universe. Their own universe. They didn't cross over into Marvel or DC. They didn't cross over into Image. They didn't have Shatterstar on the cover. They didn't have Wolverine on every cover. They had creators who cared about these properties. And I really think, like I said, this is my opinion. I want to hear yours. I think that they should go out there, somebody, and I don't know who. I mean, you've got Mark Cubans of the world, you've got people that have billions upon billions of dollars that they could pour into the venture such as this if they cared to do so. But the prospect of making money or not making money has to be figured into this thing. How are they going to see any kind of blowback from it, positive blowback? Are they going to make a deal where the writers and artists get to keep their original IP and then screw themselves in the end as far as CEOs and company owners? Nobody in their right mind would make a deal like that. On the other hand, how are you going to continue to screw the creators over and over and over again that write Spider-Man, that write Batman for DC, that write Superman? How are you going to continue to screw these creators over and then expect them to keep coming back to give you their best ideas? Not just ideas, but their best ideas. So if you had a fourth party, I'm going to say, because Image is pretty solid as the big three. If you had a fourth party come in and really just knock it out of the park and then allow those creators to maintain control somewhat of their creation, you really shouldn't have to, as a new creator, go to Kickstarter to beg for money in order to get your product funded. You shouldn't have to do that. And I'm not shaming Kickstarter. I'm not shaming any creators who do that. That's probably how I'm going to end up getting my book done. But you shouldn't have to go that route. There should be a fourth big company that is looking to help you get in. And then, yeah, they'll get part of the profit sharing. They'll help you get your name out there so that you can build a Millerverse at Netflix. But they're not trying to take every red cent that you make and then give you nothing in return and say, oh, attaboy, attagirl, thank you, and then kick you out the next week. I think the other thing that we need to get back to, and I don't know how, as a periodical companies that have had 700, 800, 900 issues of certain titles, that they've gotten to this point. But I think we need longer runs. I was reading earlier tonight that, or earlier last night, sorry, that Al Ewing's Immortal Thor is going to end with issue 25. Oh, but wait, it's going to be rebooted. Maybe not as Immortal Thor, but as Thor. Why not just keep the title going? How many times has Peter Parker gotten a new job? How many times has he started dating a new person? How many times has he gone through changes? Monumental changes in the book. One more day. But how many times has that happened? And the book never really rebooted. What people are failing to understand, and what these editors and the big mojo people at the comic companies, I don't care about a new number one. Maybe I did 25 years ago as a young man. But right now, I just want to see ASM reach 1,000. Okay? That's the number that I'm interested in. You can reboot the damn thing every 2 weeks, and I wouldn't care. But I want to see it get to a legacy number. So I think we need to get back to those legacy numbers and stop making them legacy numbers and make them the number of the title, the current issue of the title. These books are based on longevity. Peter Parker has started out as a teenager in the 60s, and in 60 plus years has made it into early adulthood in his mid-20s. Okay? If the trend continues, he will never get older than 30 years old. I am now a good decade older than Peter will ever be. But I don't want to see ASM get rebooted every 25 or 30 or 40 issues. I want to see a run. Frankly, it pissed me off to see the not last volume, but the volume before that of ASM, I guess volume 5, end with issue 93. That's some Robert Kirkman crap. Because Kirkman could have, in reality, found a way to make it to issue 200. Come on now, Kirk. You could have come up with 7 more issues. You didn't have to kill Rick when you did. You could have killed him at issue 198, and then had 192 be 198, or 199. Sorry, let's try this again. You could have had 191 be 198, 192 be 199, and then the final issue be triple sized and be issue 200. I don't know, just odd numbers like that. 193, it's strange. But anyway, just wanted to throw this out there, guys. And what do you think? What do you think reinventing comics for the next generation, for the next 100 years, looks like? We've already seen that digital didn't exactly catch fire the way that people wanted it to, but do you think it's a digital forefront? Do you think eventually that the floppies are just going to go away? Do you think that they should, like I said, do longer runs to try to bring people in rather than rebooting every 25, 50, 75 issues? Let the thing breathe. Let it go. Let's talk about it in the comments, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your grand idea would be if you were to become Marvel or DC or another company's CEO. If you started your own brand new company, what kind of books would you be looking for? What stories would interest you as this head honcho of this new company in order to bring people in? Are you going to be a horror company? Are you going to be a fantasy company? Are you going to be strictly superheroes? What is it that tickles your fancy that you want to create and you want to have your creators build? What kind of world do you want to leave not only your children, but your grandchildren and their grandchildren? All right, guys, thanks for joining me again in this video, and I can't wait to see you guys next time.